Good afternoon. My name is Dale Rodriguez, and this is Flabonga Monthrothacube. And today I'm joined by Mark McKNee. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
I do. Yeah, not too bad, mate. Nice to see that you made it to the car in order to start this.
I mean, as you know, usually I try and have higher production values. Unfortunately, I had to take a colleague to hospital. They're fine, just some other stuff, and I
Yeah.
didn't time things well enough. And I was like, you know what? Better late
Oh,
than never.
that doesn't sound like
Also,
you.
of all the
Yeah.
people of all the people that I've had book on to chat to me, you have been the most elusive, and it's not your fault. Things have come up where I've had to do work, you've
Yeah.
had to do work, health concerns,
Yeah.
kids, and I think we've
Yeah.
cancelled between us like five or six
Kids.
times. So I was like,
I know.
let's get it done,
I
even if I'm
know.
in the car, even if production values aren't that great. Um, yeah.
You still sound all right. The mic is good.
Oh, thanks. That's the one thing I invest in. I'm a bit of an audiophile, so I need to sound good or be able to hear people well.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I am gonna I want to put you in it a little bit. You have home audio
Okay.
equipment, but you're not using it
I
right now.
do.
Please show the audience.
No,
Like
that's true.
you
Yeah.
showed me your ring
So
light, but it's not plugged in. You showed me your
yeah,
awesome
yeah. So
microphone, but it's not plugged in.
yeah. Yeah, so as like most people this year, I'm planning on doing more video content. So I have this, and I also have this really
Mm,
cool mic as well. But
nice,
I'm
nice.
using a MacBook, and I've also got a DSLR, and I just don't have all of the correct connectors. So yeah, I've got all of the kit, and I can't pull them all together. It's incredibly frustrating. So I'm going old school with the AirPods and the MacBook, which is the way they
Have you
intended
always
it
been
to
an
be, I
Apple user?
suppose. No, I
Have you
have.
always been an Apple user?
I'm one. No, no, I'm one of those ones that actually switched over. So I was Apple for a long, long time, and then I did Samsung for about 3 or 4 years. And then when it came time to get my kids' phones, I liked the parental controls better on Apple stuff. So I moved everybody to Apple at that point. So.
Oh,
I
okay.
I have sat on both sides of the divide of Apple and Android, and there's not
I
really
mean,
that much difference anymore, to be honest.
considering this is a LinkedIn-based live stream, what we should probably do is talk about business. So, could you introduce yourself from a business perspective? Who are you? What do you do? Who do you work for? And why should people speak to you?
Yes, no problem at all. So I am Mark McKNee. I am the UK director for Frontline Accounting. We are the original offshoring provider for accountancy practices. We've been running for over 12 years. Over 700 staff working for us over in the Philippines now. So yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. One of the most trusted, especially in the UK. We've been doing this with UK firms for over a decade now. And if, like most of the other, or pretty much all of the other firms that I speak to, recruitment is an issue, capacity is an issue.
Mhm.
Everyone has got the right technology these days to ensure that more work can be done offshore, to a very high standard. So I thought we were going to talk
For
very
the
little about business
non-accountants,
today.
we'll talk a little bit. We've got to give some value to these people. We can't just be talking about golf and tech
Ah,
and
okay.
you and I drinking. Um,
No,
for the
fair enough.
uninitiated, so people who don't work in the sector, could you explain what
Yes.
offshoring and outsourcing is? So, like for the non-accountants, what is it?
Yes, of course. So, very clear delineation, I suppose. Everybody kind of throws them in the same bucket because it's work that's being done in another country. But outsourcing generally is you taking a bunch of your work and giving it to someone else to do. They decide who does it, they decide the quality standards, they decide the timelines, all of that kind of stuff. Offshoring is actually building your own team in another country. So they work directly for you virtually. They only work for you. They learn your systems, your processes, and there's no kind of shared resource. So that's the kind of main difference. People like the idea of outsourcing, but they think that a lot of the time it can be a little bit hit and miss. So offshoring tends to be a little bit more of a kind of strategic and consistent output.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
You
And
can tell I
do
get
you
asked
think it
that
has
quite a
any
lot, can't
effects
you?
on? Yes. I was like, do you think that has any effect on the client's perception of value or work? Like, if I, as a layman, went to an accountant and they used offshoring, would I even know the difference?
No, that you shouldn't do because the way that we work, your team member is set up with, Kristen Reeves' email address or all of that kind of stuff. For all intents and purposes, they're working for your firm. We are the master administrators of all of their tech and all that kind of stuff. So, nothing goes out with that. So, you know, a lot of firms that I've worked with and do work with now basically sent everybody home at the pandemic, and they've been working at home. A lot of them have chosen to move to France, they've moved to Spain, they've moved to other parts of the world. So they're already technically offshoring because they have members of their team who can take their laptop and go and work from anywhere. So it's exactly the same thing.
Okay. I'll ask you one more business question and then we'll switch to personal fun stuff. And I know you probably get
Okay.
asked this
All
one
right.
all the time. It's very annoying. With offshoring and outsourcing, how does it
Mhm.
work with GDPR compliance?
So well, that's good for your part of it as well. It's all about the tech. So we have systems in place that means that no data can actually be patriated to the Philippines. Nothing can be saved locally. Nothing can be put onto disk drives. We disable USBs. They can't even print anything. So nothing can actually be sent to the Philippines. The work is actually done in a virtual environment, and wherever that virtual environment is, usually within the EU. So if you're using AWS servers or you're using Azure servers, the work is being done there.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that's and the same thing applies. If one of your team members decides, oh, I'm going on holiday, I'm going to South Africa or I'm going to South America, and they're taking the laptop with them. Okay, what does that do for GDPR as well? um,
No, you're right. You're right. I had to ask.
they've got files saved on their on yeah they've got files saved on their local disk. At least with ours, nothing can actually. I suppose you can equate it to the work being done through an open window, and at the end of the day, that window closes and your hands are empty, and that's it. Everything stays inside the building.
So, okay, switching it to the personal now. I know you're quite a
All
keen
right.
golfer. When you play golf, do you take it seriously, as in it's full on concentration, or do you have a few sippy sips of a drink? And if you are sipping a drink, what is your drink of choice whilst golfing?
Both actually. So there are certain competitions at the golf club that are just very conducive to group drinking. So like the kind of team events and stuff like that, they're called Texas Scrambles, and everybody just has a bit of a laugh, and everybody has kind of beers in their bag, really. So yeah, there are a few, but there are a few big competitions that you always like to kind of play your best and concentrate on. But yeah, it's a mix of both. Um, I think there's one picture that I kind of always think is the epitome of a golfing holiday. I know that you've got a few mates that play golf, but yeah, I took a picture of this that there was a beer and a coffee, and that was breakfast. That's that's how a lot of people look at it. But changed mine this year, so I had my 40th birthday party on the 6th, and for all intents and purposes, have gone teetotal since. So we'll see how that goes. It's only been
Okay, okay.
11 days, 11 days, but it's we'll see how it goes.
Was that a conscious choice, or it's just happened that you haven't had time to have a beer?
No, no, I just yeah, it was maybe something to do with turning 40 and just feeling a little bit older, looking a little bit older. And I was like, you know what? Um, I'm going on a couple of nice holidays this year, and I'm gonna I'm gonna try and be a single figure handicap golfer. I'm gonna try and get my body fat percentage down under 12%, and yeah,
Oh wow,
drinking
that's
doesn't
a really
help
hard
either of
challenge.
those.
Under 12%. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so I think I'm currently sitting at about 15 and a half, but it's the last bits that are always the problem.
I mean, 15 and a half is still pretty impressive. That's, you can take your shirt off with pride, right? There's
It's
no,
it's not.
yeah.
It's okay. It's all right. Yeah. There's some lumpy bits, but all of my fat tends to center around the middle, unfortunately. So um,
I think that's a general
that's a great.
male middle-aged spread thing,
Yeah,
right? It happens to,
yeah,
yeah, that kind of
yeah.
donut kind of area that, those lower abs, those lack of obliques. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Remind me again, how many kids do you have?
So I've got three. I've got twin boys who have just turned 10 years old, and my youngest is 7.5 now. So yeah, lots of boys running around the place and playing football and golf and tennis and um, you know driving driving the lady of the house mad.
Which one's your favorite?
Oh, the one who causes me the least problems that day.
Boom.
No, I
Best
can't.
answer. That's best answer.
Yeah, I can't. No, I can't. I couldn't possibly separate between them. But the good thing, especially about the twins, is that they are very individual. And we've always kind of kept it that way. Really, when they were really young, we obviously kind of dressed them the same just because it was easy. You would just get the same stuff, and they wouldn't fight over. I want the green t-shirt. I want the blue t-shirt. I want no. So, but now they have all of their own gear, and they've been in separate school classes the whole way through as well. So yeah, they've got their own groups of friends and their own personalities. So even though they are identical twins, and lots of people just cannot tell the difference at all, they are very different, which is good.
So presumably, where you know them as their parent, like you can see small differences and you can tell which one's which. Like,
Yeah.
have they ever duped you and your wife? Have they ever done it?
No, no. Well, actually, well, they could dupe my wife, but they can't dupe me. So they occasionally, like, if I kind of see them from behind, or if they've not got their glasses on, it's a little bit more difficult, and I have to like kind of give a little bit more attention to it. But yeah, you can't tell from behind because they've got the same haircut, and they've got different glasses. So sometimes if they've not got their glasses on, I'm like, okay. But yeah, they are very, very highly identical.
Okay. But personality-wise, completely different. Is one more sporty and one less sporty, or one more academic, and like
Um,
what's the differences?
no, they are. They're both quite sporty. They like their football. They like tennis. They like golf. Um, One's a little bit more arty than the other. Um, he says he wants to run his own clothing brand. He wants to start his own clothing brand. I'm like, all right, that's cool. So he's starting his drawings and his designs and stuff like that. So I'm like, all right, okay, that's cool. He says he's not as good as his pals at football. So if he starts a clothing brand, then he can sponsor them all.
Yeah, that's pretty
Lofty
cool.
ambitions
That
for a
is pretty
10-year-old.
cool.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah,
The whole entrepreneurial vibe, go for it. Yeah, if it's not there, create it.
that's it.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And your youngest, what are they into?
Uh, God, as Roblox. um, can't get them off Roblox. It's unbelievable. Um, but no, he's also very sporty as well. He's still doing his swimming, his tennis. I try and get him into golf. He's just not as interested as the other two. Um, but yeah, we're very sporty. But he's learning other languages as well, which is good. So his mum
Oh, nice.
is Arabic. So he started learning Arabic, and the boys have told me they want to start learning Spanish. So I'm like, okay. So I need to try and get that sorted from somewhere as well. So yeah, we've got a multi-faith, multilingual, multi everything type household here. Yeah, great fun. That's why I kind of stay out
That's
of
very
it
cool.
in my little cube out the back.
In your office or man cave, as it were.
In my cube. I won't show you the rest of it at the moment because there's golf stuff lying all over the floor. I've got new clubs and new fitness stuff that's been delivered, so it's a bit of a mess. But from here, you could actually. One client actually said to me, "Is like, are you coming to us from a prison cell. And I'm like, really? Is that what this looks like? I'm like, oh man, okay. I need to do some decorating, I think.
How do you think you would do in prison if you went down? Like, do you think you'd be all right?
Ooh, I don't know. I'd probably, um, I don't know. I've got a bit of a mouth on me, I suppose, so I might actually get myself into trouble. But I would probably uh, keep my head down, I suppose. How do you think you would go on? You would probably just
Oh,
befriend
I wouldn't do
everybody
well
in the
at
gym.
all. No, I thought about this, right? And I thought to myself, I can be a little bit sarcastic, which probably won't go down very well. And I'm not physically that
Mm,
strong, well, upper body wise, I'm not. So I'd probably end up, getting a punch in the face, not
yeah,
intentionally, but just
yeah,
inadvertently rubbing someone the wrong way. I could see that happening. I don't think I'd do very
yeah.
well in prison. Also, the mental fortitude required to keep like yourself motivated, I could think that would get very.
Mm,
I'm not sure I could cope, if I'm honest.
yeah.
But let's move off something so
I mean,
depressing. Let's
sometimes,
go back into work for a little bit.
yeah.
So
I was going to say sometimes this feels like a
sorry.
prison, just like when it's, especially when it's freezing cold outside. But yeah.
So I was going to say, right, going back to what you said about your age, and bringing it back to work a little bit.
Mm.
You have been in the accounting industry for what? Almost a decade.
It's
What's the
over a
biggest
decade now,
change that
yeah.
you've seen?
Um, so the first company I worked for um, in this industry was doing BPO for kind of payroll and accountancy. Um,
Hmm.
and there were a lot of people doing manual tasks, a lot of people, going through timesheets, going through expenses, going through all of that kind of stuff manually. It's a lot more automated now. Obviously, the tech has come a long, long way. The one thing that I always kind of notice about as soon as someone brings out a little bit of tech that helps make accountants' lives easier, is HMRC come in and they add another layer of expectation of what they want. So you never actually get any further forward. So it's like, okay, right, cool, you can do this now. Okay, well, we know that you've got extra time and you can deliver this now. So yeah, that's um, so yes, there is more of the work is being done by tech and automation, but more is being asked of by HMRC at the same time.
Okay, and I know you've also worked with a lot of fintech providers. What is the biggest mistake, in your opinion, that fintech provider can make when trying to enter the sector or space?
Oh, the land grab is a horrible one, and I've been involved in. Well, I've been involved in one of those, and I've been involved in the cleanup of one of those. Um,
Please, could you
so,
elaborate? What do you mean by land grab?
um,
Sorry, just to clarify.
is the yeah basically just going all out to try and win market share and just giving all different kinds of crazy offers and deals and all of these kinds of things and pricing promises and oh um,
Not
yeah,
mentioning
it
one particular
causes. I
vendor.
mean, no, well, I mean, yeah, I think I left at the right time there. I think, but yeah, the
I'll say
when I was
if you're in the
at.
industry, you know.
Yes, yeah, yeah, I'm sure. And do you know what? I feel for them because they had to do it. They were a new proposition in the marketplace. They were going out and trying to win market share, and they were doing anything to do that. And the unlimited model did seem to make sense at the time. But you know, as what happens when you get new overlords of private equity investors, they want something a little bit more scalable. It's like, oh, why have we got this 3,000 employee company with 6,000 firms paying us the same as that 10-person company over there? um, yeah, so that
No
was the
comment.
thing, and they were doing that that investigation just around about the time when I left on how they were actually going to do it, and I know that they spent a lot of money with a SaaS pricing industry expert, um, and at the end of the day, they came back with what I could have told them for 20 quid. Like, well, if you
Okay,
you are going to really annoy your
let's flip it. Let's flip it. I've asked you a loaded negative question. I'll ask you a positive thing. What's something
Yeah.
a fintech
Okay.
provider can do that's a good thing? What's good practice? If you're starting a new product, what will be a good thing that you can do?
I think so many of the the firms now and the cloud experts are so willing to give their feedback. There are obviously, kind of various routes to market that you can actually use now, where you can work with accountants during your beta stage and during your planning and all of that kind of stuff. There are specific firms set up where, accountants can take part in all of these things now. And that, I think, is far more important, rather than just saying I'm going to build this and then I'm going to create a market for it. I speak to the accountants who are going to use it day to day, and see if you can get as many different viewpoints as you can based on all of the different market segments that they work with, and then build your product on that. Because once you've actually built the product, and Intuit's case, the way they built it, it became so much more difficult to make changes. And the rate of change was really, really slow because of that. Because that was originally built, in the US for, kind of small businesses and stuff like that. And then they had to build it for accountants, and then they had to build all of this other stuff. And it was, 30 years worth of development on that. So yeah, pretty difficult to turn that ship around.
Okay. And going back to something you said previously about the skill shortage, which Frontline could potentially help with, I would be interested to get your opinion on the following. As someone maybe in their early 20s or just leaving school, what advice would you give them to get into the bookkeeping accounting space? And how would they reach like the level of success that you've achieved? Because you're or EMEA UK director of a company.
Yeah.
How would they go about that progression?
Well, although I've been working in this industry for a decade, I've still not got my qualification. I'm still doing my ACCA just now, so I'm doing it very slowly. But I would definitely say to young people that it is delayed gratification, which is something that I know that the youngsters don't have an awful lot of time for these days. And it is that you need to put the time in. If you want to see yourself 5, 7 years, 10 years in the future, being a trusted business advisor and going into things like mergers, acquisitions, private equity, all that kind of stuff, accountancy can do that for you. Don't just look at it at the short term and say, well, I'm going to be, sticking my head into Excel spreadsheets and doing, farmers bookkeeping and all that kind of stuff. Well, yeah, you have to start out, you have to give yourself the basics, and you have to kind of learn that stuff and prove yourself. But the career progression is there to get all the way up to, the private equity backed massive accountancy firms of this world, that are now more interested in buying other accountancy firms than they are about winning smaller clients.
Yes, that's something that I've discussed with other people in the industry. I think there's gonna be a lot of consolidation, right? It's crazy. I've seen other firms buying other firms in the last 2 years. It's been crazy.
We've got one particular private equity firm that is, I think, in the middle of trying to buy 3 of our clients. So it's something that I've got a lot closer to over the last kind of 6 months or so. It's huge, and it's not just kind of private equity backing firms to buy other firms. It's also happening in the accounting tech space as well, where you've got the behemoth of HG Capital, who are not only part owners of assets still. They've got the likes of Dex, they've got Bright, they've got Silverfin, they've got half of the accounting tech landscape already in their pocket.
Yeah, that's a big move. That's a big move.
Yeah.
I know I've asked you before, but I'll ask you again. I'm going to ask you the biscuit question. If you were a biscuit, what kind of biscuit would you be that accurately portrays your personality and why, but don't just pick your favorite biscuit?
Um, um, I think I did just give you my favorite biscuit last time, didn't I? So, I
I'm
like
not gonna lie, I don't fully remember
uh,
because last time I asked you, we've both been drinking, so I don't fully
we're
remember.
probably probably a few beers deep before you pull out that question normally, yeah. Um,
Mm.
I think a ginger chocolate hobnob. There you go.
A ginger chocolate hobnob. First of all, I'd never heard of those,
Yeah.
but how does that portray your personality?
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit different. Um, it's a little bit wacky, it's a little bit spicy, um, but also got that bit of crunch.
Okay, okay, okay.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
That's an interesting answer.
But the chocolate,
I mean, it
but the
sounded like a bit
chocolate
like a blind date
adds some
answer, but
smooth. Yeah, there you go. There you go. But I am
if I ever
also
get the chance, I'll ask your
but
wife if she agrees with that.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I'm thinking that as well. It's like I'm mixed race as well. So my dad actually is ginger and my mum is brown. So I don't know if that's where the chocolate and ginger thing came from in my head. But I also have a lot of ginger hair that comes through in my beard. Believe it or not, the longer it gets, I get more ginger. So yeah, although I
Seriously?
don't look typically stereotypically Scottish, I am.
No, through and through.
Yeah.
Okay. So you, for your work, do you often have to come to England or London? And how often do you have to be in London?
I am. I'm actually going to be in London on Tuesday. But yes, as the only employee of Frontline in the UK, I cover the whole of the UK. So towards the end of last year, I had an epic journey of Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland, back to Scotland, and then back over to the Philippines, and then back. So pretty much October, November up until the start of December, I was on the road seeing clients, playing golf, and then over in Manila to spend a bit of time in the sun. It was 35 degrees over there, which was lovely. And then I came back, and the first day I got back, it was -2. So I had a nice 37-degree temperature change within 24 hours. It was awesome.
That must have been crazy. When traveling to London, is it plane, train, or automobile? What's your
Yes.
preference?
Uh, Always plane because I live very close to the airport. So that's not as bad as it sounds. Because of where I am, you don't actually get any of the sound, but I can actually walk to the terminal in about 25 minutes. So
Oh wow,
I can get, yeah, I can get door to door. If I'm going to London City Airport, probably in about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. And I can
that
be
is
in central
crazy. And you know
London.
why it's crazy?
So
There are people in London who
it
live in
probably
certain
takes you
parts of
longer.
London
Yeah,
who
yeah.
take longer to get across London. That's insane.
I know.
That's insane.
I
Okay.
know.
Of all the great
It
Scottish
was one of the
cities, which
things that
one's
I
your
always
favourite
kind
and
of
why?
pointed out. Oh man, I would get lynched if I never said Glasgow. I live in Glasgow. I'm from Glasgow. I have lived in London for a few years though. But yeah, I always keep coming back to Glasgow. Edinburgh's
Okay,
probably
so
the most English part of Scotland.
okay. So let's say I'm going out to Glasgow. What
Yeah.
would a typical night out be? Like, where are you taking me, man? What are you
Oh,
gonna show me?
uh, uh, I don't know. I would be really boring now because I'm not drinking, but I suppose getting on the lucky saint, um, alcohol-free beers. Um, I'm 40 now, mate. It's been a long time since I've been in the centre of Glasgow. um, the yeah, there's some nice places. So the West End is where I've kind of always typically gone as a kind of youngster. It's very kind of studenty. It's very, kind of what is the word again? Gentrified part of the city. There's also
Hmm.
the Merchant City, which is a good night out as well. Bath Street is a good night out. Um, but yeah, I mean, Glasgow's just famous for its pubs, but it's also got quite a few nightclubs. I don't know if nightclubs are much of a thing anymore these days. Um,
Not
but
for me because I'm boring and old. Personally, not really my thing.
it's
But
been a
yeah,
long
give
time
it a
since
go.
I've been in a nightclub, man. I can't remember the last time I've been in a nightclub. Years and
What's
years and years, I
the
think.
food and restaurant situation like? Because whenever I go somewhere, I like to try out the local cuisine or like infamous or famous cuisine. So what are the restaurants like?
We don't have that many Michelin star stuff, but we've got, um, really good restaurants actually. And there's a part of the town called Finniston, which is right next to the Hydro Arena, which is our
Mm.
kind of large, kind of concert space. So because of the amount of concerts in there, I think if I'm right, last year or the year before, it was the second most uh, visited arena in the world, only behind Madison Square Garden, which
Oh
is
wow,
pretty impressive for a town the size
yeah,
of Glasgow. It's like 12,500 seater arena, but it's packed out pretty much every single night. Comedians, singers, shows, all that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, because of the Finiston's locality and how close it is to that, the amount of people coming into those shows, lots of really interesting, kind of bars and restaurants and all of that kind of stuff have chosen to set up there. So that's if you want to try some really kind of cool modern cuisine, then Finiston is the place to go.
good to
I
know.
think it's
Thank you.
our version
Um,
of Shoreditch.
okay, sounds good. Shoreditch in Scotland, or in
Yeah,
Glasgow, should I say?
yeah.
So I realise I've asked you a lot of questions, and you've humoured me and been very kind in
Mm.
answering all of them. Do you have any questions for me before we wrap this up?
Um, Yeah, I've seen a few things that you're doing this year. You're obviously present. I think you're presenting at DAS, aren't you? What is it
Indeed,
you're
yep.
actually? I've seen a. You are. What is your subject? What are you covering?
So the title is still a work in progress, but it's essentially how to pick the best quote marks software. It's something that I am very passionate about. It's something I do for the firm I work in. It's something I advise clients on, and in my mind, it's common sense. But I feel like sometimes, not always, people make rash decisions. Not just fintech, but I mean
Mm,
in general. And what I want to do is explain to people that there is a process and a method you can follow, and it helps you save money and time in the long run. I know it's very tempting to look for a solution, be sold a solution by someone, and then through lack of
mm,
testing or review, find that solution hasn't actually worked. And my mantra is just spend a little bit more time, a little bit more money in the early days, just testing and scoping what you
mm.
actually need, and then make the decision. So essentially, I'm just giving you all the talk for free. That's what I'm going
Yeah.
to say for 20 minutes at DAS, but it's pretty much that. But a bit more detail on processes and methodologies you can use to actually make a more informed decision.
Okay. And
Yeah.
where do you put the service that the customer account managers or customer success guys put in to how heavily is that weighted in the decision making process?
So in the accounting space, very heavily.
Mm,
The reason
mm,
being, so I worked in other sectors as well, but I would say in accounting, where everyone is already a professional with a strong high workload, they don't necessarily have time to implement or learn the technology they might do in other sectors. So I think a lot of accountants,
mm,
accounting firms need some extra support with their clients with getting that process into their business. So a lot of the time, a big difference is the amount of time or effort or knowledge the account managers have. And I know everyone talks
yeah,
about it, but Zero, for example, right? They have account managers and partner consultants, and the partner consultants are people who worked in practice. And I would say that's one of their kind of silver bullets, where actually they've got
yeah,
people who understand the sector, who can speak the accounting speak, and support. That's a massive thing. The only problem with that is
yeah.
you don't know how good that is until you start doing it. So it's a big factor,
Yeah,
but you won't get that support until you've actually signed up.
yeah. I mean, I think I know Alan Davison very well at Zero. I actually used to be his account manager when he worked at Sheen and Tate. When I was trying to weasel my way in there with QuickBooks, and he's I think now he's one of their kind of lead partner consultants. So he works with all of their kind of top 100 firms, but I think he does some kind of pre-sale stuff, and I think you're very right. If you've got someone who can actually show you how this works in practice and has actually kind of done it, it makes a massive amount of difference. Where else are you going this year? You're doing DAS. You're doing anything else?
I mean, I'll be going to Accountex, alternate events, and I might be at ZeroCon. Probably won't be speaking at any of those other ones, but I'll probably be at those.
You're doing alternate
just
events.
to see what's
All right,
going on.
I'll be at that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I will have a stand there, so I will catch you there for a non-alcoholic beverage, possibly.
Sounds good. Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you for doing this, because I know you are busy and you've got a lot of stuff to do. So taking time out of your day to do this, I appreciate it. And
Pleasure
if you fancy it, we
always.
might do it again. If not, then that's cool. But I'm going to say end stream. I'm going to roll out. And yeah, thank you for doing this, man. Appreciate it.